welcome to night number 53 of History Bedtime Stories in bed in our pajamas. Tonight we're going to do things a little different. For the next 3 nights, I'm going to be covering Antoinette de la Mauvaise de Cadillac, the founder of the city of Detroit. I have been struggling with how to deal with this one for a long time because it's so much content, so I thought we're going to break it up into 3 nights. And for all the school teachers who have been asking for it, that's going to be night 53 through 56. Lord help us. So the story really starts with the birth of Antoine Lamont. He's born in 1658 in the south of France in a little tiny town called Chaumont. And he's born into like a middle-class family, very average. His family is not nobility. In fact, his father is a magistrate, a judge. And although they're comfortable, they're certainly not wealthy, and they are absolutely not noble or royal. By the time he's 25, he manages to get passage to the New World, to North America. And it's here that he becomes a trader, a furrier, and a surveyor on what will become the American East Coast. As he's traveling up and down the Atlantic, he becomes sort of the world's authority on the Atlantic seaboard, and he starts drawing these really crude maps. These maps get a little bit of attention because maps are power. If during this time of colonialism, your country knew what was where and how to get there, that gave you a tremendous advantage over every other nation trying to get a foothold in the economy, in the production, and in the land of the New World. Now, during Cadillac's travels, he meets up with a privateer, a man named Francois Guyon. Now, Guyon was a pirate. The difference between a privateer and a pirate is letters patent. If your king or queen, if your monarch gives you permission, a warrant for privateering, you go from being a pirate to being a privateer. And it is really a change in name only in a lot of cases. Now, Guyon is doing a roaring business. He is set up in Port Royal, and basically he goes out and under the warrant of the King of France, surveys and inspects every ship, especially British ships, coming in to the eastern seaboard. As he's inspecting these ships, he may, confiscate or appropriate all of the supplies on board. He may take the payload and then sell it at a big old profit. Now, why would a monarch be willing to legalize pirates? Well, if they're out taking the commerce from your enemy, if they're stripping enemy ships of food, drinkable and potable water, trade supplies, and of course, gold and sterling, that doesn't hurt. You're weakening the enemy. And these privateers, in a lot of ways, became sort of early branches of a militia navy. Now, Cadillac becomes a trading partner with Guyon and later would go on to marry his niece. The wedding takes place on June 25th, 1687. Marie-Therese Guyon marries Antoinette Lamont. Now, the marriage in and of itself is pretty spectacular because she is socially a few steps above him. Her parents, although deceased, had been merchants in Quebec. She had more money than him, she had more grace and style than him, and she was certainly considered socially superior. However, during their courtship and after their marriage, Cadillac does a few things that to this day puzzle historians and good-hearted folks worldwide. He starts the first of his huge lies. He gives himself a title. He starts calling himself, after the wedding, Antoine de la Mauvaise, Squire Sir de Cadillac, son of Jean de la Mauvaise, Seigneur of Cadillac, Launay, and Monat. His dad was a magistrate. He made all of this up. He even makes up a coat of arms to go with the supposed Cadillac title. He calls himself a consultant to the Parliament of Toulouse and Jean de la Motte Malafrat. None of this is true. Now, he and Marie would go on to have 9 children over the next 20 years. But at this point, they are a young couple, just 2 years into their marriage, when they move. First, to Port Royal, and then he is given command of Michilimackinac. The fort is put under Cadillac's command for a couple of reasons. He makes some really powerful friends on a trip back to France, including Louis de Pontchartrain, who is the Minister of Colonies. Minister Pontchartrain kind of introduces him to a Governor Louis de Beau de Frontenac, and these two guys have a big interest in him because of his map making abilities and because of the fact that he knows what will become the American East Coast. So the governor and the Minister of Colonies send Cadillac, who used to be Antoinette Lamotte, they send now Antoinette de la Mothe de Cadillac, back to the New World with a cartographer, a man named Jean-Baptiste Franquin. And Franquin is sent back to really just make a good definitive map of the East Coast. They spend a couple of years doing it. The map is so-so by all accounts, but it earns him a lot of press and a lot of acclaim. In 1693, Cadillac is made the commander of a military company. In 1694, he's given the captaincy of a ship. And in September of 1694, he gets that all-important command of Michilimackinac. That fort is a giant trading post for the furriers of North America. And the fur trade is what set up what will become Michigan and what will become Detroit. Beaver, wolf, elk, deer, muskrat, rabbit, you name it, they were hunting it, eating the meat, tanning the hides, and a lot of those furriers and hides were going back to Europe, where they were satiating this huge interest, this huge fashion trend of beaver pelt hats, of fur capelets. And for all of this fur, it really was the economy of the New World. So when he takes over Michilimackinac, it's all about the fur. And Cadillac does none of the things his predecessors have. He does not withhold trading alcohol from the Native American population. He does not maintain those strong trade ties with the Native Americans, and pretty quickly starts losing the Iroquois, among other tribes, trading to the British. At the same time, he's trading alcohol, which is causing all sorts of problems, and he is considered to be evil. There are write-ups of the time calling Cadillac an evil-minded man. They say he's chased out of France. He is not a noble son of France anymore. And one of his contemporaries at Michilimackinac reports, never before had a man amassed so much wealth in such a short time, nor caused so much disruption through the wrongs he inflicted upon those who were involved in his dealings. Cadillac is in real trouble. He's been given his first command, and he has absolutely blown it. At this point, he has become incredibly wealthy by trading on the side, by averting taxes to the French crown, and by making side deals for alcohol distribution to the Native American population. In 1698, he is effectively forced out of Fort Michilimackinac, and he goes back to France on really a poor me, the world's against me, it's a conspiracy, wah, 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 tour to try to explain himself and get a new position. Wash your hands, and we'll see you tomorrow night at 8 to talk about what happens in France and the founding of Detroit.